And then, just take a little bit of a rest, but we're waiting for one gentleman to show up to get tied up in traffic. We should be here in about 10 minutes, so. I guess while we're waiting, anything going on with the construction, Rocky?
They've been working on the pumping stations. If you go by Justin Hollow and Alexandria Drive, you can see that the vinyl siding's been put on one of the buildings. Interior is just about complete. Electrical and plumbing has been going on pretty well in there. They did do start up on the generator at Alexandria today. That went fairly well. The load bank tester that was hooked up to the generator kind of failed on the guy at the last 15 minutes, so he's actually going to do another test on it tomorrow. But it was the load bank that failed, not the generator. So,
Yeah.
but so just as a technicality, he's going to come back and do it again. But other than that, everything went well.
Now, is it just recalibration or?
On the generator?
No, on the load bank.
The load bank, there was something that failed inside the load bank. It's something that they provide to do the test.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the generator, so.
All right, very good.
And as for Sulco, the word I got on them is they'll start May 1st.
May 1. If it doesn't snow.
It doesn't snow.
Is that all the effort that David faces?
Yeah, there's not much going on, so. And we don't have any invoices to sign. We'll be doing those next week, okay? Yeah. I do have a question, Robbie, and Brenda, maybe you can answer. In December, I asked that our timesheets would follow the same as what the rest of the town departments are using. Are we using those now?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, all right. You still cold?
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a suggestion that you might want to recess the meeting temporarily so cable can shut off the cameras until the agenda item that you're here for.
So done. So done.
Sorry, I'm late.
Come on, have a seat. Okay, we'll bring the meeting back to order. At 6:10. Now, this meeting was originally supposed to be an executive session, and the reason it is not is that we have received correspondence from the superintendent that he is unable to come to work until further notice. He's being treated by a physician, and we have a letter from the physician, which I will not read. So, that kind of puts that item on hold until further notice. I don't know when his return is going to be. And we're heading into our construction season, and it does leave a void. So, what I'd like to do is ask the board, and we will discuss it with Mr. Betancourt next week, but I would like to get the board's permission to see if we could bring Mr. McGarry on early, so we can continue with this final phase of construction.
I just saw that for the first time, so are we saying that this is, there's no timelines or anything on this?
No, there are no timelines. It's just that he cannot participate in any work-related until further notice. And it says see attached, and again, the doctor's notice is there, but that again is not for public notification. You know, that was sent to the, Attorney Peetnick, and he sent it to me as the chairman. So, I know a lot of people came here tonight for a specific reason, but in light of that, I don't think that is gonna be discussed, so. So we're going to move on.
John, if I can jump in, the impression that Chris gave me is that he was gonna be going through plus some medical testing. It sounded like it wasn't gonna be much more than a few weeks.
Well, we haven't had any word whatsoever, so
Okay.
we're gonna move on. So I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
McGarry's contract starts on
July 1.
July 1, and he may or may not be available to come in any earlier, so you're proposing to call him?
Yes, but only with the board's approval.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with you calling him, see what his schedule is.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always felt that some crossover was appropriate. How much is, I think that's, this raises another dimension to having some sort of, continuity. I don't know what, I don't know what that portends, but I think it's worthwhile calling McGarry and see what his schedule is. I don't have any problem with that.
Okay, I shall do that then. And invoices are on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of order. How can you discuss taking a vote to fill a position that hasn't been vacated?
We're not.
We're not filling the
We're not.
position.
Well, you just said you were going to contact Mr. McGarry to bring him on. Did I just not hear that?
Yeah, you didn't hear that right, as far as I'm concerned.
Is that what crossover means?
No, it doesn't mean
We
at
have
all.
a position,
No.
if I may, we have a position that you were notified of a medical condition, that an employee has taken a leave for medical.
Yeah,
His position hasn't been vacated,
nobody said it was.
and you're talking about calling Mr. McGarry.
Yeah.
You have an acting superintendent here, and Mr. Carey, who's quite capable of doing the job during the period of an absence. I failed to see why, and second of all, that isn't on the agenda tonight, which, by the way, I'm very surprised we even have a meeting here tonight on a Wednesday. The original discussion last month, at Mr. Betancourt's request, is he was gonna be out of town this week and please not have any meetings. And you, Mr. Chairman, scheduled a meeting and announced it for the 16th of April.
That meeting was scheduled at Mr. Gallagher's convenience. It's the only reason we're here on a Wednesday. We
Right.
fully intend to have our regular monthly meeting
Mr. Betancourt's out for the
Thursday,
week.
next Thursday.
Mr. Betancourt's out for the week. Why would you possibly have a meeting this week of such a serious nature when 1/3 of the
Well,
board has
Miss-
informed you over a month ago he wasn't even going to be present?
What was the purpose of the meeting?
You tell me, because your agenda that you posted at town hall, public
Right.
posting.
The only reason we're having a meeting is because we told everyone here that we were gonna have a meeting, so we weren't gonna renege on that. Mr.
Not for Wednesday the 8th, they didn't.
That meeting was discussed at our last meeting. And Mr. Betancourt was notified the reason for the meeting, and he said, I have no input to that Q&A because I do not have the background. And I have an email to that effect. That's the only reason this was gonna go ahead. We were gonna discuss that Q&A tonight. But because Mr. Gallagher cannot be here for whatever reason, we are not gonna do that, because he has the right, as you all know, to have his say. That's the whole reason for this meeting tonight. Unfortunately, this happened.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but I still never heard any word of a Wednesday the 8th meeting. I heard possibility of a Thursday
Well, you
the
know
9th
something?
and Thursday the 16th.
I find that amazing because the Gazette called me about the meeting.
When, today?
No, last week. So it must have been out there somewhere.
Yeah, for Thursday the 9th. But be
No,
that as it
no,
may,
for Wednesday the 8th.
where in the agenda does it say discussion of bringing in Mr. McGarry or personnel decisions?
It doesn't, but it doesn't also, nowhere is on the agenda that we had this letter. This is something that just came to be and we have to act on it.
Wouldn't you think Mr. Betancourt would want to have a say in your discussion of Mr. McGarry's status prior to July 1st?
What did I just ask the board for?
Permission to call Mr. McGarry
That's
early?
right, that's right.
Wouldn't you want to seek the input of Mr. Betancourt prior to that?
He said he was going to. But I wanna get back to
I
your
think it's a
point.
flawed
Excuse-
process.
Well, maybe you do, but I wanna make a comment in your comment, okay? When you say that his suggestion to call McGarry was to, quote, replace the current superintendent, that is absolutely, totally erroneous.
What's the
That-
intent?
The intent was, I thought I made it very clear, I thought there was an advantage in seeing if they could have some transition, and also the fact that what we're being told tonight is that there's an undeterminate leave of absence for medical reasons. Why wouldn't we want to explore the possibility, and this is not to replace him, so I take great objection
How
to
many
your
people are we gonna
Listen,
put on
let
the
me
payroll?
finish, I listened to you, let me finish, please. This was in no way to replace the existing superintendent. His contract is in place, and I think it's in the benefit of the town to see that we make sure that we're covered. We're going into construction period, and we don't know if the superintendent's gonna be out for 2 weeks or 2 months. So why would you say we're replacing him? I
You
object to
have
that.
Mr.
I object to it.
You have Mr. Cabral as a consultant. You have Time Bond as a consulting company. You have Mr. Carey as your
You're off
assistant
subject. Let's
superintendent.
get back to your
How
point.
many people do you need to put on the
We'll talk
payroll?
about that in a little bit, I
How
hope.
many people on the
That'll be
payroll do you
covered,
need?
that'll be covered.
That's gonna be covered.
Because
That's
you're not gonna
another-
bring Mr. McGarry up here without paying him.
Listen, that's another subject, Gordon. I'm going to your subject, which is replacing the superintendent, which is a false statement. I would never do that, and I don't think that came up in this discussion. So you need to listen more carefully, if I may respectfully say so.
Your intent is very clear.
That is not my intent. Your intent is very clear.
Put some more on the payroll. And how many houses will we not be able to continue
We'll
to
cover that.
sewer with these additional costs?
Okay, again, that's leading us into the next item on the agenda is consulting fees. Apparently there was an article, and I don't know, I think it was in both the Gazette and the Rainham Call about consulting fees. I received several calls wanting to know if we were gonna have enough money to complete this project because of exorbitant consulting fees. And I believe you brought up the issue, Mr. Luciano. So, in light of that, I think that we should remove a highly paid consultant to make sure that we do have enough money. And I think that tonight will be Mr. Dyer's last night as a consultant. You, go ahead, laugh, but.
You guys are just unbelievable.
Oh, really?
Funny, John. Nobody's laughing.
Worse
Now-
and worse.
No one is laughing.
It was mentioned in the Gazette, a gentleman's name, that we were paying him a high consulting fee at $200 a month. For what, 6, 7 months? And he doesn't work during the non-construction season? But yet we're paying another man $60 an hour, 12 months of the year? Go ahead.
What 12 months of these, what 12 months of your year?
Last fiscal year, it was 12 months.
Do you know what I've been paid since January?
Not this January, but I did have a breakdown, I believe, I don't know if it's here, of what you were, no, it's not here, what you were paid.
Would you like to see?
Sure, bring it over.
I think you would have looked at it first.
Oh, the data is out there. I'm surprised you.
Okay. I
Do
thought
you understand what I even do?
Yes, I do. I understand at our last meeting, you told me you didn't do any work in January and February.
No, I said January. There's $2,720 I did
Okay.
from December through February.
Okay.
Do you know what your wages have been, your pay has been since July of 2013 cumulatively?
About a couple $100,000.
Yeah, it's approaching $250,000 in 2 consecutive years. So I wanna get back to the comment about consulting fees, okay?
Yeah.
Frank, I'm gonna mention his name, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm gonna say Frank Cabral was paid $1,600 to help us with progress reports, which the board felt were appropriate to conduct the business on behalf of the town of Rainham. $1,600, okay? This gentleman's been paid close to $250,000. You wanna talk about consulting fees, stand up and talk about consulting fees.
I think at the last meeting that I was at, Chris and that gentleman there saved the town $500,000 by moving
We'll
something
talk
another
about that
way.
in a minute.
So, I think he more than compensated himself
Well,
as well.
We'll have
So
that
did Mr.
conversation.
Gallagher.
We're not gonna get into that at all.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, no, it's, the
Why
gentleman's not
don't, why
here.
don't, why don't you ask these guys what they got for consulting fees?
Yeah.
In your letter there was $285,000. When was the last time Dan come down and talked to me?
And you
I
have to
don't-
decide.
I don't know.
I mean, you guys.
That's
you
what
guys
half the
pay
problem
him
is, you should know.
$5,000 a month for oversight, you ain't paying me $5,000 a month for oversight. And I'm actually sitting here doing your as-bills for you and stuff.
And why are you doing that?
Why am I doing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I agreed to do.
Yeah, but why are you doing that? Why isn't the superintendent doing that?
Why would the superintendent be doing it?
Why not?
Would Mr. Cabral be doing that, or would the other gentleman that we're bringing in
We
do that?
wouldn't have run into that.
What was Titan One's oversight cost for the same thing I'm doing now? It was $900,000. For what I've charged you $250,000 for.
You do have a comment on that, cause I certainly
Do
do.
you have a comment to that?
I don't know where the $900,000 came from, but
That was your number,
I didn't provide that.
up until July, the contracts 2 and 3.
Their cost of contracts 2 and 3 time.
Because I've been sitting here, what do you guys charge for a guy out in the field?
Do we have anybody out in the field in this job?
No, typically charge for a guy out in the field.
It ranges.
What do you typically charge? You don't know?
You know, it depends on the individual, but ranges from 50 to 120 bucks an hour, yeah.
Okay. You don't have anybody with my qualifications up there. You don't have anybody that's doing what I'm doing
I
up
don't know
there.
what your
Have you guys had, ask Rob, you've been here for 20 years. Has Ty and Bond provided anybody to do the service that I've been doing?
In the time that I've been here with, Ty and Bond doing projects and Bruce doing projects, by far Bruce has been the best inspector out there.
Okay, so why don't you check this stuff before you start throwing crap around?
I'm not throwing crap around.
Of course you are.
No, I'm not, no, I'm not.
If you're talking foolish,
Oh, really?
yes,
Well, then foolish it is. Okay.
and that's okay.
We
I don't mind leaving as of tonight, that's not a
Okay.
problem.
And,
But don't forget you
But
have
we mind,
testing to
we mind that he leaves. He's the only one that's had our back throughout most of this stuff.
what do you mean, had your back?
Look at the stuff that he's saved as far as money. You guys are worrying about $60 an hour.
Okay.
My God, it's a millions of dollars project, and you're worried about $60 an hour.
And,
And typically their oversight is like 15%. What's that on an $8 million job? 1.2
And-
million bucks?
but the thing is, with their oversight, we have a guarantee.
You
With
don't
their
have a
over-
guarantee on anything with their oversight.
Okay.
Read your contract.
Okay.
That's gibberish.
Provide different services as well. So construction administrative services are more than just being out in the field.
Right.
We are reviewing job drawings and certainly communications with the contractors.
So who has done that, this whole thing? Have you had a problem with my communication with the contractor? Have you had a problem with what I've done on the field? You can
Say
speak
no.
up.
No,
So what are you
I'm
talking
not
about?
informed of all the communications between you and the contractor,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, you have to maintain a line of communication, and hopefully that's happening, so I'm not saying it's not. So yeah, between the contract administration personnel and the contract observer.
And how many
certainly
times have I
there's a
bailed you
line of
guys butt out on grades and other things that have been off on the plans?
communication. And that's absolutely your job out in the field, is to
Yeah.
make sure that grades are correct.
Yeah.
You're doing your job.
And your design, when it's been off, the grades and stuff like that, who's taking care of that? Made sure it works?
Well, I think you're picking at things. I mean, the reality is that the job of the observer is to make sure that the job gets built correctly. So if you're doing that, that's great. You're doing exactly what you need to do. Yeah, no, totally.
What percentage of the contracts 2 and 3 costs, which are about 6.5, 6.6 million total cost, not including land takings and details, police details, what percentage of that total has been paid to Ty and Bond? Do you know? I know.
I don't. You can.
3%.
What's the number on it?
3%.
What's the number on it?
Well,
How much, 285,000?
on contracts 2 and 3
Yes.
for plans?
Yes.
Are you a registered professional, are you a
285,000?
registered professional engineer?
No, is he?
Is Ty and Bond?
Is he?
I might
You got
Connecticut
in
license.
Massachusetts?
I have a Connecticut license.
Okay, he's not even a registered engineer in Massachusetts, so
Yeah.
what are you talking about to me?
Well, Bruce, they have many, many,
Do
many
you guys
engineers.
typically have,
Yeah,
do you guys typically have a PE out in the field doing my job?
Are you a PE?
No, I'm not. Do you typically?
Oh, absolutely. You have PEs as well as non-PEs.
As far
It
as-
depends on the complexity of the project. A job like this,
Yeah.
if you're qualified to be out in the field, then you don't need to have a PE license to be out in the field.
If I had a PE license,
Yeah,
working for you was out in the field,
That's a
that'd be
different
$120 an hour?
Absolutely. When we put a
Okay.
PE out in the field,
Okay.
it's gonna cost you more because that individual is generally a higher rate.
So that's why you had me to save you money. You don't believe I've saved you money, that's all right, then obviously you don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
Well,
I think we do, Bruce.
Yeah.
Okay, good for you. I think you're the only one in the room that thinks you do.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
that's,
that may be another
that's your
problem.
judgment. All I can say is, I'll look back at the record that we've had, and all the phases and the system that we have in town. It's very reliable. The consulting engineers we have, I feel, have done an excellent job. And,
Well, you've got a $4 million job coming up, how are you gonna pay for
And-
that? With a 15% fee on top of that? You don't have that much money,
It will be done.
you won't have
And
that much money.
that's enough. It will be done.
I'm fired,
You're
so
not-
what do you mean, I'm fired, what do you mean, so
You're
that's
not-
enough?
You're not.
Enough from who? I don't work for you.
You're not recognized.
I'm not work for you.
You're not recognized, so please be quiet. Okay? It's as simple as that. But I'm very satisfied with Ty and Bond's performance. I think they've done an outstanding job. In the 23 years that I've been here, They've answered any problems that we've had, and in every job, I don't care where you go, there are gonna be some bumps in the road. And that's why you have field inspections, you have to take care of those problems. There isn't any job that goes smooth, you know that, Bruce, as well as I do, and you gentlemen know it as well as I do. So,
I think Mr. Emerson would advise you, you'd need to do that in the form of a vote. If you're gonna terminate
To
his
do-
contract.
No, I
No.
don't have a contract.
No,
These-
there is
these
no
guys-
contract.
These guys can tell me not to come in tomorrow, that's, I
there is
have
no contract.
We don't have.
Oh, there is no
There
contract?
is no contract, no.
So he was at will to the board?
Yes, I will, is a,
Okay.
And,
I would still recommend, even as an at-will, I would still recommend that there be the
Right.
notification.
Make a
for-
motion.
all right, now, I make a motion to,
To end the consulting
It's a
relationship.
consulting relation.
okay, and I'll second that motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote,
Yep.
it's a unanimous vote. I will contact Mr. McGarry, and, the money we save with your consulting fees, we can, if he agrees to that, we'll see if, he'll work for that money. So,
$60 an hour,
excuse me,
$60 an hour. That's what you're going to pay him?
if he will agree to that. Okay.
And if he wants more?
He is, oh, what did I just say? To see if he will agree to
I don't
that.
know. You said a few things.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Do you have anything else, Mr. Sharp? No, we're not gonna touch that.
Yeah, I got a lot else, but you
No,
know,
no,
we're not touching it,
no,
we're not
no, you
touching it.
can't touch it, he's not here, we're not gonna get into that.
I will say this, if I may, without getting into the detail of the Q and A, the questions which Gordon submitted and for which we supplied answers. Those answers were reviewed and vetted by the engineering firm, so they're not, they're not just things that we put out there without serious consideration for a response. And, if you have reviewed that Q and A, and if you've studied the answers, there's a lot there that deals with the concerns that are out here. I don't know how many of you have looked at it, but if you don't bother to read the 10 pages that consists of, then at least look at the last page, which has the tables that summarize. The first table summarizes the results of answering those questions and having dealt with the engineering firm. And I hope you understand that these are reputable people. They've been around 100 years. I don't know that we have to, we have to elaborate on that. But if you look at those tables, the answers to all your questions are in those last two tables. Can I say that much?
Yeah.
I think it's grossly unfair, though, that when I rose to ask a couple of follow-up questions on just what you're talking about tonight, last month, you hid behind counsel and said you could not respond further, and yet tonight, you bring it up again, where once again, I'm sure counsel will advise you that I'm not allowed to ask any more questions pertaining to that, because it's now become a personnel matter. So I think it's grossly unfair for you to characterize that report without the ability of me being able to follow up on those responses.
No, I think what he's doing is just saying that we have responded in kind to your questions, and that should be the end of it.
I mean, the.
You know, we,
I disagree, but
this could go back and
I know
forth for
counsel
months
said you can't talk,
this could go
to me
back for
about any
months and months
follow-up.
and months. It's,
it's gone on months and months
Right.
because I waited 5 months to get the answers.
Oh, you didn't ask the questions 5 months ago.
I rose in November to ask questions, and you said, put it in writing in December. I put it in writing in December, and you said, now we have to send it to Ty and Bond. Then we had no January meeting, it was canceled, so I couldn't get a response in January. Then in February's meeting, I rose to finally get the answers, and Mr. Dolan said, I have them right here, but I can't release them now. And then I finally get the answers in March, and then I'm told I can't ask any follow-up questions. Richard, that is months.
It doesn't. First of all, the answers to those questions are public. They're on the public record. So, you know, you have the answers to those questions. If you've studied them, you can see that there's a great disparity between what you were looking for and what came out of the responses. You have that information in your hand, okay? Now, then, there was a response back from the superintendent, if you recall, that came several days after you finally got your answers to your questions, which, by the way, came out of his paper, The Good, Bad, and Ugly. Those questions were derived out of that, we understand that. So you picked them out of The Good, Bad, and Ugly, and then we answered those questions. We took the time because we wanted to be careful and we wanted them to be accurate. They were coming back to you as public record, and they're out there now. Everybody's got them. And then we have this response back, which is what the superintendent's response was to the Q&A. So that's out there as well. But there are some issues with that response, and I guess I'm not, fine. I mean, but the Q&A is, that's what you asked for. The answers are what you asked for. And I think we had a meeting, a couple of meetings ago, where I asked the attorney, the town council, and by the way, I was misquoted by one of the people here. I didn't say, how can I truncate this? I said, when does this truncate? And the response from council at the time, and I would ask him to confirm this, was that answer the questions which are financially based, but after that, you have to come to an end to it. That's it. What else, you know, I mean, where do you go with it? So you have those answers. What is there about those answers that doesn't resonate with you?
I had follow-up questions, and your counsel advised, and the chairman said not to respond to those questions. And Dick, transparency never ends.
Well, let me tell you something. It never ends because it's just circular. It really is. I mean, I can't imagine a board working harder, honestly. I've talked to other boards about this, and it's incredulous that we have spent this much time explaining why we didn't renew a contract, which, by the way, the other party has the same right. It's a contract. Contracts are not renewed all the time. And the other party can not renew the contract just as well as we do. So when you talk about transparency, Gordon, there are many other groups that are in this situation that would say, you're kidding. You've been at this for 6 months, you've been answering questions, you've been dealing with arguments, and the board made a decision which was based on its responsibility for the conduct of the business on behalf of the town. That's it.
Please don't mischaracterize my questions. They had zero to do with the contract, zero to do with personnel issues. Your own town council ruled that you could answer those because they were financial in nature only. So please don't misrepresent the
They were
characterization
financial, but
of
they
those.
revolved around a lot of claims for savings. I
Okay.
mean, just read them. Read the questions, Gordon. The financial questions revolved around the core material that was in the good, bad, and the ugly. I mean, you don't have to have a degree to figure that out.
And, you know, in closing, you have to understand that the board did not ask for that good, bad, and the ugly, okay, which started this whole scenario. One individual asked for that. So I think the board has gone over the top in something that they didn't even request. That has nothing to do with the business at hand. It was somebody that wanted some personal information that was provided to him, and yet it got thrown into our lap. So, that's my final say on this. Do you have anything else?
Mr. Chairman, are you meeting next Thursday, is that what you're saying?
Yes, we are.
And you mean to say with 1/3 of the board not present, you're making actions like termination of contracts and bringing
Whoa,
people
whoa,
up?
whoa, whoa, whoa,
for-
what are you talking about,
No,
termination
whoa,
of
whoa,
contract?
whoa on that, no, whoa on
What
that.
do you mean
No
about-
contract.
What contract?
Well, the gentleman here has a,
No, he doesn't.
No, no
He
contract.
doesn't have a contract.
he has a day-to-day contract.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Well,
He doesn't have a
No.
contract. I don't, see, that's just, we go back and forth with this.
No.
So you're gonna leave the board entirely, Mr. Carey, responsibility, the gentleman who's been coming in for the last couple of years is not gonna be here, and that looks okay, because maybe somebody can fly up from Florida.
Let me
And
respond.
we have our engineering consultants.
Let me-
And you're not willing to wait 1 week for your other member to come back. That's what I'm saying, you're not willing to wait 1 week for your other member to come back.
There's two things. First of all, he missed the last meeting, didn't he? Okay? The same
Don't
person.
pick on him.
Well,
He's-
well,
he's
you brought it up.
minding his own business.
You brought it up, okay? So
Yeah.
there's 2 meetings, but let me tell you something. If I'm out of town and there's an important meeting, I'm available on the phone.
Well, look, let's,
So, please.
we're not even gonna go down that road. If Mr. Betancourt has legitimate business he had to
That's
take
fine.
care of,
Thank you for
the
that.
superintendent asked for this day for a specific reason. We complied with it. In the meantime, we received a letter from a doctor. So therefore, it was not an executive session, and we are not going to, go into that at all because he cannot be here. It's as simple as that. I'm
So the
sorry.
meeting just should be, thanks very much for coming, you shouldn't be making all these actions, that's all. You're the people who say there's nothing to talk about here tonight.
Well, there was a lot of controversy about, exorbitant consultant fees and so forth and so on. So, well,
I have a question for you. I work for a large environmental
your
engineering.
name and address?
Dave Takeaway, 21 Leona Court.
Okay.
I work for a large environmental engineering firm. We've been in business over 100 years. And I've been in this, for this firm for 15 years now, and what I've learned is no town hires a consultant company unless they don't have a PE on their staff to review and stamp plans. You have a PE on your staff who can review and stamp plans. Why do you have a consulting firm? I just don't understand it. From being in that industry, I don't know why you have one.
Well, there are many stamps, aren't there? There's civil, there's mechanical, there's structural.
PE stamp. A PE
Yeah,
stamp
yeah.
is a PE stamp.
No. You can't, if you're a civil engineer, you can't stamp an electrical, you're not certified.
What are
as-
they stamping here?
Oh, please, I mean, it's more
What are
than
they
civil.
stamping here that Chris Gallagher
Please,
can't
would you
stamp?
respond to this?
With his PE stamp, what is it that you guys stamp that he can't stamp?
Well, do you think there are mechanical and electrical components to this?
There's no mechanical stuff on those.
There's no
No,
sanitation?
ask them what is on it.
I asked the question, what's a tie and bond? What do you stamp tie and bond that a PE can't stamp?
They have. A job like this, a civil engineering stamp applies.
Okay, and that's what Chris Gallagher has, is a civil engineering stamp.
Possibly what?
Electrical in the building.
And
Electrical,
Oh, yeah.
structural?
I mean, certainly for a project like this, where you got a building in construction, you're gonna have multiple disciplines that are gonna look at these things. You know,
You
like-
certainly have
You
no
got a
idea.
shed.
You certainly have
You
no
got a
idea.
shed with
That's
pumps
all
in there.
Pipeline work.
There
There
was
are,
no
they
architectural
are
standards.
design engineers,
You don't have an architecture department here.
and
You have, who designed this project?
Ty and Bond.
Who reviewed the projects and okayed it? Your superintendent.
No.
You have a superintendent with a PE, civil engineer, and you're paying hundreds of $1,000s to bring in a company so they can stamp, cause you got 2 sheds, you got a couple of sheds that have pumps in there? That's crazy. Why do you have a consultant overseeing a PE overseeing a PE?
Well, my guess is, and I don't wanna be personal, but it's, you hire a consulting firm because one individual doesn't necessarily have all the capabilities of doing a
That's
project of this magnitude.
That's correct.
It's a
What's the
really large job.
magnitude? It's a shed.
Yeah, it's a shed.
It's a shed.
But that's
It's a
engineering, that's the engineering side. The
It's a
electrical
shed,
side is a
yeah.
shed with a
We're
wire.
building sheds.
Yeah, that's it, it's
We're
a
building
shed building.
sheds, yes.
Yeah,
We're in the business of building
If
sheds.
an electrical engineering stamp has to be required, do they have one on staff at their place, or do they have to go out and get one?
We
Tie
are,
and bond.
we are a multidisciplinary firm, we have HVAC engineers, we have electrical engineers, structural well, we don't have architects on staff, but we have civil engineers and chemical
Sanitation,
and sanitary engineers.
Sanitary
Yeah,
engineers.
we've got them all.
And the key is this, you know, from our perspective, if I may, you know, they developed the plan, and to take them out of the picture,
Oh, the loop, yeah.
out of the loop, when you're doing contract administration and construction inspection, it weakens their accountability. You see, if you and I draw up a plan, and we do a great job of drawing up the plan, and then we're pulled out of the equation for the construction, you say, there's a problem, and I drew up the plan, I'd go, what happened? I don't know how it, I don't know the construction. Let me finish, Rick.
Mhm.
So, you know, I mean, in other words, there's a real value to the town to have some interplay, some coordination between the actualization of the plan and the implementation of the plan. The minute you pull that apart, where's the accountability? Where's the liability? That's one of our concerns as commissioners. That's my concern. I want continuity in this program, and it's more than just civil engineers. My father was a PE, and I know a little bit about it from my own family. You can't just take one stamp and have a project, a multi-million-dollar project, and say that stamp is gonna cover it. I know better than that.
How many stamps are on the plans, other than the civil engineer? How many stamps are on there?
The last 6 months.
You will have the stamp of the individual designer, who would be the specialist, and you will have a principal.
How many, I asked the question, how many stamps are on that prints other than a PE stamp?
Is an individual stamp on electrical drawings, with an electrical stamp?
With electrical
There's a
engineer
civil
stamp?
engineering stamp, and there's probably multiple civils on some sheets, but, yeah, there'll be, it depends on what the discipline is that's shown on the drawing. You know, I think this all comes down to, you know, you've got multiple players in this, multiple stakeholders. You know, this is the job that needs to be done in a collaborative effort. You've got a commission that has to be working with the superintendent, that's working with the construction observer and the construction engineer, all working together. I mean, quite frankly, this is one of the first times I've ever seen such a thing where all these groups are not working together. And the construction observer criticizing the engineer, first of all, that's the job of the construction observer to review the drawings. When he sees things like an elevation that's off by a foot, that's where he raises his hand and says, hey, that's off by a foot, I need you to revisit this item. It's not an argument, it's working together as a collaborative effort with the superintendent. The superintendent can't do the job himself. I mean, if you have time for one person to spend strictly on the sewer project, you know, that's why you hired a clerk of the works to some extent. You have a clerk of the works that came out here because, you know, he's serving a role in this whole team.
We understand that. We understand
I
the
guess
process.
I'm just not seeing it
Yes,
with
but we understand the
discussions I'm
process, but
having.
we have to be
We
polite,
get it.
we have to be polite up here and feel these.
Well, excuse me, but I'm glad you're being polite, but I do have another question. And this is maybe it's because I'm naive to all of this that you guys have, but I happen to know that when I presented a plan that cost several thousands of dollars to the planning board, for example, my engineer, the planning board has their own engineer. Now, my plan gets submitted to the planning board. The planning board then takes that and submits my plan to their engineer. Their engineer then comes back and consults and says, this is what's wrong with it. From what my perspective on this is, we've asked Ty and Bond to design it, but in your perspective, from your point of view, now you're saying to Ty and Bond, we want you to consult on it and make sure that is exactly the way that it's working. I'm confused by this, because if we had this gentleman over here that was out in the field looking at it and reviewing it, I don't understand why we're paying these guys any more money. Because if it was wrong and they found it wrong, why are they charging us
If they had a
anything
field
for it?
engineer out there and he found elevations were wrong, he would correct it.
For
Just
no
like-
charge?
Just, we would be paying him just like we paid Mr. Dyer. Okay?
But why isn't there, why are we
And if you-
having
if
them
you brought a
consult
plan to
again
us,
on their own thing?
If you brought a plan to us,
Right,
we would send it to our consulting engineers for review.
but they designed the first one, and again, maybe I'm just wrong, it just seems like you
So
wouldn't have the same
What
person.
you're saying is we should hire another consulting firm to review their work.
No, I'm saying you had one, and it was a PE that was here, it was Chris Gallagher, and he's gone. And then you had this gentleman, now he's gone. So now we're bringing these guys back in to review their own work when it's out there for more
No,
money
that's-
than we're paying him and Chris.
Yeah.
That's just the way it looks.
Yeah.
That's just the way it looks.
That's not the
guys.
way-
Well, once he's gone and Chris is gone.
Excuse me,
who's
sir,
gonna-
excuse me, sir, but you are out of order. okay? We're having a discussion, you
You
don't
sat down.
jump in.
We had a
I
discussion, we
was
were still talking, and
sir,
then
and
he
you're
stepped up.
over,
We were talking, and then he stepped up and asked the question. So you got rid of him, you're getting rid of Chris, who's gonna oversee Ty and Bond? Ty and Bond's gonna oversee
Yeah.
Ty and Bond.
they're
Now,
our consulting engineers.
and they oversee each other. I'm a consulting engineer, and that's not how it works.
Applaud.
That is not how it works. You do not oversee
Well,
yourself.
I'll tell you, it has worked for every phase of this sewer that we have in town, and we don't have a problem with it.
But you had a superintendent before,
This
you had
last
this
phase,
guy.
for the last phase.
Who's gonna see it? You're not gonna have an oversight over them?
I'm not gonna listen to him anymore.
Well, I mean, I mean,
You know, it's,
Mike, I'm sorry, your first name, I forgot.
Dave,
Dave, I don't think it's correct to say that Ty and Bond is overlooking themselves. You know, in other words, they're checking themselves. That's not the way it
who's
works.
doing it?
No, I mean, I think the comment that was made by Peter here, and I don't know that it was broadcast loud enough, is that the way this works in the best interest of the town, as far as the project goes, is that there needs to be very good collaboration between the several parties. And when you take the planning component out of the collaboration, then you reduce the credibility that we have for getting back at them, you know, if there's a problem, because you don't have that integrated approach. They're not checking on themselves. You know, that's why we have the collaboration with the superintendent, that's why we have the collaboration with the commissioners. They're not working independently of anybody, but they're part of the process, they're collaborating actively. When you take them out of construction inspection, they're out of that part of the phase, they're not in the mix, not proactively. Maybe as a tail of the dog, but not proactively, and that's something that has worked well for the town. I mean, John has mentioned several times, we've sued 95% of the town with a system that is absolutely performs as best as any in the Commonwealth, and the third lowest rates. So I don't know that you can criticize the work that has been done to date. It's been done well, and we want to see it continue to be done well. That's our objective. Our objective is to proceed, to complete the expansion, and to have it completed as well as it was done the first 95%. And this firm has worked on the first 95%. They've done it well. And their problem right now, and he just alluded to it, I don't know if it's out there strongly enough, but the collaboration has been deficient. Am I saying that correctly?
It's exactly, cooperation is what it's all about.
Why don't you stand up and say that? Because I want the audience to hear this.
You're getting paid enough.
Yeah, he's getting paid.
You know what?
but-
Just so you know, I'm not getting paid. I'm here after hours for your
You're on
benefit.
salary, you're getting paid.
Okay, there you go. Okay. No, it's all about cooperation. Certainly, we have a team here. We need a good construction observer. And I'm gonna say, right offhand, if you're a good construction observer, we need you to look at these plans and make sure they're done correctly. We need a construction administrator. We need a firm like Ty and Bond out here to make sure that the contractor's doing what he needs to do, is submitting on the proper products, and coordinate this effort with our construction observer, with the town, with the superintendent, and that's how it works.
Okay,
And if
so
you're-
when the superintendent's gone and this guy's gone, who are you gonna, when you find something, who are you gonna,
We would like to have those individuals back in place. We'd like to have, we need to have an observer on the job. A job.
who's gonna be the observer though when they're gone?
Well,
Ty and Bond?
We certainly have construction observers. That's an
So
option.
you're gonna observe yourself?
Yeah,
Okay.
it just keeps going round and round and round. and
I'm
round.
sorry, thank you
And
for your time, Mr. Dolan, I'm sorry that I
It's quite all right.
disrupted you.
Quite all
I'm
right. I'm glad
very
you could
sorry.
attend. Glad you could attend. Mr. Pacheco.
Lou Pacheco, 123 Warren Street West. I apologize, I got here a little bit late. Was somebody let go tonight? Fired?
No, it's no longer gonna be used.
So the person that was the main witness in the open meeting
No,
vi-
no.
No, let me finish. The person that was the main witness in the open meeting violation was let go because you don't need him anymore.
Well, there was
We're gonna bring back Mr. McGarity.
there was quite a controversy about, exorbitant consulting fees.
No, there wasn't. That's-
Oh, yes, there
that's
was.
bullshit, Joe. Come on.
Ask
With
Mr.
who?
Luciano.
On my behalf? On exorbitant that I've been paid?
Excuse me. There was an article
Hey,
that,
make sure,
this-
be careful what you say. Be careful what you say.
there was an article in the
Be
paper,
careful what you say.
and what is that supposed to mean?
You know what it means. You
No,
know
I
exactly
think you,
what it
I think you
means.
better explain
You know
yourself.
exactly what it means. If you wanna try to slander me here,
I'm not
Be careful what
slandering
you
you,
say.
I'm not slandering you,
there's
I'm
been
referring,
nobody who has said anything about exorbitant fees from my end. Nobody.
you were
Nobody.
not mentioned, there was an
Then why
article,
do you put it out there like that?
I haven't put it out there like that. We're just trying to cut back on exorbitant consulting fees. Bottom line, bottom line, like.
So to
do you
answer
have
my
anything
question,
else, Mr.
so the answer to my question, yes?
No, Lou, let me try to put a different,
I'm telling you, this is ridiculous.
what he's referring to, and I mean, it's public knowledge. There was an article in the newspaper that expressed great concern about the exorbitant, I mean, I don't know if that was the word, but about the, I've used that because I can't quote.
Out of control.
The out of control or whatever consulting fees, and the article, which was authored by an individual here, or was, you know, was given to the press, said that there was a great concern that these, quote, consulting fees were so high that they would possibly impinge on our ability to continue or to complete the construction. That was the thesis of the article, that we were spending so much on consulting fees that, you know, that could be, that could interfere with our ability to complete the project.
And who
So-
said that, Mr. Shiloh?
I'm not gonna repeat names here, I'm not.
It was in the.
No, I mean,
newspaper.
was it a board member, or was it a?
No.
So basically, what I understand John to be saying, and to get to Bruce's point, was there were only two consultants that we had in play, that I know of. Ty and Bond is the engineering firm of record. You know, they're not consulting, they're the ones that develop the plan, and they're the ones that we depend on to make the whole thing progress, and to come together. They have been the engineering firm of record that has helped us to complete all the other phases. So the only two consultants we have in play that I know of, may I say this?
Yeah.
I mean, is that okay? So, we have Frank Cabral, and we have Bruce Dyer.
That's
it,
not true,
folks.
that's not true.
Well,
That's not
I'm
true.
sorry.
It's part of the contract with Ty and Bond, they provide consulting services. Read the
Well,
contract.
Well,
And you provided a number of Bruce's consulting charges over the last 2 years. Could you also, tonight, provide us an exact breakdown of the consulting and charges from
It's in
Ty
the
and Bond
Q&A.
for that same
It's
period?
in the Q&A, Gordon. 3% of the total contract.
What's the dollar amount? You wanna throw dollar numbers around
Couple hundred, $285,000, $200,000.
for Ty and Bond?
That's all the work they did.
For the
throughout
consulting.
this.
That's
No,
the
no, no.
consulting fees are too.
Go ahead, explain.
That's the oversight.
Yeah, I don't.
No, they don't have those.
Well, anyway.
More importantly, it seems that it seems,
No. We haven't done anything on two since last October.
and more importantly, it seems like you're reacting to an enterprise article. I mean, it's like, so if we wanna get in touch with you guys, should I just call the enterprise, have them put an article in, and then you guys are gonna start talking about it? That doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
You were offended by an enterprise article, so now you're reacting the way you
No,
are.
I had several phone calls wanting to know what's going on.
Why aren't they here? Who made those phone calls?
Well, I
Nobody here.
don't know why they're not here, that's their business.
Can you provide a breakdown at next week's meeting of the same time period of what you've paid Ty and Bond on a monthly basis?
It's in the Q&A. It's in the answers to the questions.
We can,
It's already out there.
Yeah. Could you provide us with that information?
I do whatever you need.
Yes,
Thank you.
Serve you.
yes. Please provide that information. We will have that.
Thank you.
Okay,
It's already out there.
do you have anything else, Mr. Shabel?
No.
Mr. Emerson?
No.
Mr. Beaver? Okay,
I make a motion to adjourn.
okay, I second that motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, meeting is adjourned, we will be meeting next Thursday, the 16th at 6 o'clock.
Didn't they make a motion?
Robbie,
Trying to find
Just go in, so it's all-